My name is Ethan, and for most of my adult life, I believed in the kind of love that doesn't bend let alone break. I met Hannah in college at a campus worship night. She had this voice soft, but full of conviction. That night she sang a hymn I barely knew. And yet I found myself mouthing the words just to keep watching her. A year later, we were married in the same church where she now teaches music. 20 years. That's how long we've been together. 2 decades of shared prayer, parenting, Christmas traditions, potlucks, date nights, early morning coffee. To most people around us, we were what they'd call goals. You know the type, smiling couple on the church newsletter, first to volunteer, last to complain. And for a long time, I believed we were happy. Not perfect, but strong. Then one night, a few weeks after Hannah came back from a women's church retreat in Las Vegas, she sat beside me in bed, turned off the lamp, and whispered, "There's something I have to confess." I waited, but she didn't say anything more. I turned to look at her, but her back was already to me. I could hear her breathing shift, the way it always does when she pretends to be asleep. I didn't press. I didn't want to. That sentence sat in the dark between us like a ticking clock. The next morning, she acted like nothing had happened. Made eggs, talked about Lily's college finals, asked if I'd confirmed our attendance at the Christmas party. I played along, but something had cracked. And once you feel the fracture, it's impossible to unfeel it. She started keeping her phone face down. That never used to bother me, but now it screamed. She lingered on messages, smiled into her screen when she thought I wasn't looking. She was different, lighter, almost like guilt hadn't yet crushed her, but temptation had lifted her dot. And then there was Reverend Mercer. He started calling more, visiting, sometimes for meetings, sometimes just to drop by. I caught a glimpse of one of his texts over her shoulder once. It read, "Still thinking about that talk. You're a light. Hannah, don't dim yourself." That was the moment my chest started hurting in a way that no prayer could fix. Still, I said nothing. I told myself I was being paranoid, that this was just the devil trying to stir distrust, that I needed to be a better husband, not a suspicious one. But deep down, a quieter voice said something else. "Prepare yourself, Ethan. Truth doesn't stay buried forever." So I watched. I waited. I measured the distance growing between us like an architect, drawing a blueprint for heartbreak, because I knew that confession was still coming, and it wouldn't just crack our life apart, it would split our faith down the middle. By the second week of December, our home was glowing with holiday warmth, twinkling lights in the windows, cinnamon in the air. "Oh Holy Night" softly playing from the record player. Hannah baked more than usual, smiled more, sang carols in the kitchen like nothing was wrong. It felt like living with a ghost, one who hadn't realized she was dead yet. Lily was flying home from college in a few days. Our first Christmas with her back in the house after she moved out. I tried to keep things normal. Set up the nativity scene in the hallway. Put the lights up alone. I didn't mind doing it by myself, but I noticed something as I worked. Hannah never offered to help, never asked how I was. She was there, but somewhere else entirely. That's when she finally said it. We were sitting at the table after dinner, half a chicken between us, and touched mashed potatoes congealing in a ceramic bowl. She hadn't spoken in 20 minutes, just stared out the window at nothing. Then she put her fork down, folded her napkin carefully, and said, "Something happened in Vegas." I didn't ask what. I just nodded. She kept her eyes on her plate, voice quiet. "It wasn't planned, but it happened. I'm still figuring out how to feel about it." That sentence echoed through me. Not "I'm sorry," not "it was a mistake," just that I'm still figuring out how to feel. I stared at her hands. I used to love those hands, watching them conduct music, hold Lily when she was small, rest on the pew in front of us during worship. Now they looked like they belonged to someone I didn't know. "Was it Reverend Mercer?" I asked. Softly, she looked up, not in shock, not even guilt, just a stillness, a confirmation without words. She didn't deny it. She didn't need to. That night, when she went to take a bath, I checked her coat. I'd never done that before in 20 years of marriage, but the trust was gone, and I needed to see what she wouldn't say. In the inner pocket, I found a folded piece of notepaper. Mercer's handwriting. It read, "You bring something out of me I thought I'd buried. I hope that's not a sin." I sat on the edge of our bed holding the note like it might burn through my skin. She'd said something happened, but the truth was bleeding all over the pages of our lives. She hadn't just had an affair. She'd fallen in love, or whatever people call it when they wrap sin in scripture and pretend it's holy. Still, I said nothing. I didn't throw the note in her face. I didn't demand details. I just folded it and put it back where I found it, because I didn't want rage. I wanted clarity. The next morning, I made her coffee, kissed her forehead, told her Lily was arriving on Christmas Eve. Then I gave her a choice. I said, "I know about Vegas, about him. You don't have to explain, but you do have to decide." She froze, mug halfway to her lips. I continued, calm. "You can tell our daughter the truth on Christmas Day, or I will." Her eyes filled, but she didn't cry. Not yet. Maybe she still didn't believe I'd follow through. Maybe she thought I'd flinch the way I always had, choosing peace over confrontation. But this wasn't about vengeance anymore. This was about our daughter, about the God we claimed to serve, about not letting deceit dress itself in tradition and pretend to be family. I gave her until the holiday. And in the quiet days that followed, I watched her wrestle with the weight of what she'd done. Christmas Day arrived like it always did, slow, sweet, and deceptively peaceful. The smell of cinnamon rolls filled the house. Lily was home, glowing and chatty, back in her childhood room. Hannah moved through the kitchen like a perfect hostess, hugging her parents, serving coffee, laughing at small things. If I hadn't known, I would have believed her performance. But I knew now how much effort a lie takes to maintain, and I was done carrying it for her. We had invited a few neighbors. Hannah's parents were staying the night, and Lily's old youth group leader came by with her fiancé. The table was full of warmth, full of history. Full of betrayal. We sat down to dinner, turkey carved, wine poured, prayer spoken. I raised my glass for the traditional toast, same as every year. But this time, my voice didn't tremble from nostalgia. It trembled from restraint. I looked at Hannah across the table, her face glowing in candlelight, and I said, "Hannah has something she needs to say." The room went still. Forks passed midair. Lily blinked. Hannah stared at me, her mouth parting just slightly. I saw it then, the moment her fantasy ended. The safety of silence was gone. She didn't speak right away. I didn't fill the space. I let it stretch and ache until she had no choice but to face it. "I made a mistake," she began. Her voice cracked. "Back in November, during the church retreat with Reverend Mercer." Gasps, silence. Her mother dropped her fork. Lily froze. "It wasn't a what I'm thing," Hannah continued, tears spilling. "It wasn't physical right away, but it became more than it ever should have. And I've been hiding it from you, from all of you." No one spoke. I looked at Lily, who was trembling. She stood up and left the room without saying a word. Hannah sobbed into her hands. Her father looked like he'd been struck. Her mother quietly said, "God help us," and excused herself. I stood up next, not in rage, but with finality. "I wanted her to tell you herself," I said calmly, "because lies die in the light." I didn't scream. I didn't break anything. I just placed my napkin on the table and added, "I'll be moving out tomorrow. This is no longer my home." Hannah choked out my name, reached across the table like that couldn't do it. But I stepped back. "I'm not punishing you," I said. "I'm choosing myself." I walked down the hallway and knocked on Lily's door. She didn't answer, but I heard her crying. I didn't go in. I just said through the door, "I'm sorry you had to hear it this way, but the truth is still better than the lie." That night, I packed a single bag. I didn't sleep. Neither did she. I could hear her pacing, praying, whispering to herself, but I was already gone. And that was the moment I stopped being Hannah's husband, not when she crossed the line in Vegas, not when she fell for Mercer, but when I stopped protecting her from the consequences. Some people believe that faith means forgiveness without limits, that love means staying no matter what. But I believe in something quieter now. I believe in dignity, in boundaries, in truth, even when it shatters the story you've built your life around. And I believe that sometimes the most honest thing a man can do is walk away from the table